Monsieur, pourquoi tu fais ça?
Ben, il profite de son visite.
Bah oui, il a raison.
Bah oui. Waaw, maa ngi koy photo, maa ngi koy vidéo.
Moi, je veux elle là.
Venez,
Allez-y,
on sort.
allez-y, touchez-le.
Venez, tout le monde sort dehors.
Allez, on y va.
Mais monsieur, tu fais quoi là?
Vous voulez danser?
Non.
Monsieur, demande-lui si elle peut venir devant là.
Je pensais que
Moi, je veux elle qui va venir
Elle
là.
est devant, moi je veux qu'elle soit devant.
pas moi, j'ai laissé.
Lui, il allait ouvrir.
Bah si.
Moi, je veux la caresser comme toi là.
Monsieur, si vous vous baissez, j'arrive à voir votre visage ici.
Mais je crois parce qu'elle
Encore un peu, baissez-vous. Baissez-vous, baissez-vous.
Elle va pas me mordre.
Encore. Voilà, yes.
Tu me donnes un morceau de viande, tu veux lui donner.
Regardez-moi.
Tu la prends photo, puis tu la vas
Moi, comment se
And good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending upon where you are around the world. I am Marcus Holmes, and we are live on Love and Stuff. And we're live via Restream on Facebook Live right here in the Love and Stuff community, as well as on the Marcus R. Holmes page, along with LinkedIn Live tonight joining us, and YouTube events, and Twitch TV. So if you're on any or all of those platforms, click share, tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends or YouTube connections, LinkedIn connections, Twitch TV followers to join in tonight's discussion. All month long, we're on the road to Grateful, and we're on the road to Thanksgiving, which is a month typically filled with reflection and gratitude and thankfulness. And so we are on the road to doing just that here in the Love and Stuff community. And I want to just share with you that the Gratefulness Journey every day is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. And you can certainly purchase that on your road to Grateful. And tonight we'll have a very special guest. We opened with a piece of his video from his trip to Africa. And so we wanted to have TaMuk Scruggs join us, and he will be, I believe, in the green room momentarily. I'm awaiting his arrival any second. And he will join us and share his journey and lessons of gratefulness from his trip to Africa and his apprenticeship, as he shared here locally in the Detroit area. For those of you that are in the area, City Council President Brenda Jones, outgoing president, she is not running for re-election, headed a task force, the Skilled Trades Task Force. And so as a celebration of her, an ode to her, TaMuk shared from his experience, and I thought it would be great for him to share that with you. So why don't you click share, tag some folks to join us in our discussion today, and he will be here momentarily to join us. And so I am going to click share. I hope that you will do the exact same thing. Click share and tag someone to join us in the discussion. All right. So we are live, and I'm just checking across platforms to make sure that we are live on all of the platforms that I named. And so far, a number of them I do see. All right. All right. I don't see our LinkedIn platform live with us. We will figure that out in a moment. Oh, it looks like it is. All right. Fantastic. All right. Okay. All right. We're going to get him joining us momentarily. While he's coming to join us on this wonderful, wonderful time of gratefulness, I hope that you will click share and tag someone within your circle of influence to join us, and something that you are grateful for. We are on the road to Grateful, It's the gratefulness journey every day. And it's what you're doing in the next 30 days and the days to follow to transform your life. And I tell you that this gratefulness journey for me started many, many years ago, but started officially. I was awakened to it in a different way, if you will, through my mother on Thanksgiving Eve. And I am just grateful for the lessons that I learned from her. And I'm so happy to be able to share those lessons with you. All right, our guest has arrived. I'm excited that he is here, and I hope that you will click share with us and tag some folks to join us in tonight's discussion. I think this will be a great discussion, and I hope that you will share it with others. Hello, Joy Pascal. Thank you for joining us. I hope you will click share and others across platforms. Joining us is TaMuk Scruggs.
What's going on, man? Just want to make sure you can hear me properly.
I can hear you
All
just
right.
fine. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, man, no problem, man. I appreciate the opportunity and the invite.
Yep. I don't know if you saw, and I hope to be able to play another clip that looks like it's still rendering, but I played an opening clip of your time in Africa with the lion, which I thought that was an interesting moment in the journey. But before we get to that, I want to go back to Mook because you have gone through an apprenticeship program. You are now a journey person. And
Yes,
I know that I watched a piece of the clip that you shared with Brenda Jones about your journey there. So take us back to when you first started the apprenticeship program, because I think there are a lot of people who don't think of apprenticeships and journey persons as opportunities for them to really have gainful employment, a great life. And so tell us where you were in your thoughts and life space when you were awakened to this apprenticeship.
Well, to even go back before I started the apprenticeship, back in 2007, I had gotten locked up for driving on a suspended license. A lot of people in the city of Detroit had that same issue. When you're your own adult and you're your own support, you have to make things happen without anybody else helping you or with very little help. So, I was one of those individuals that I continued to drive just to support my life and to continue to live, even though I didn't have a driver's license. And a judge from out in the suburbs didn't take too kindly to my repeated offenses to that situation. So ended up locking me up out in Oakland County, and was out there, and I had just had a whole lot of positive emotion going on trying to get my life together. But when she locked me up, it just kind of derailed everything. And so I was just sitting in there in the county jail, and then over at the trustee camp, just irritated and highly aggravated and pissed. And so at that particular point in time, I was like, I can't. Just talking with some guys that were there, trying to share some positive words with me. They were like, listen, we all keep going through these same cycles, and at some point, as men, as adult Black men, we had to figure out how to break this cycle. And so sat there and just pondering, what my issues were, what my barriers were, and then tried to sit down and figure out a way to break those cycles, and came up with a plan on how to break that cycle. And
what would you say were your barriers? You said your barriers. What were your barriers?
So my barriers, some of my barriers were things like not having a driver's license. So that caused me to not be able to have a legally registered and insured vehicle. Didn't have stable home situation. I actually was staying with my mother at the time, just trying to get the situation squared up. Not having, I was employed, but didn't have gainful employment. So it was like, we got to figure out how to really make some adult money. Because a lot of us can scratch it out at $10, $11, $12 an hour, but that's just surviving. That's just trying to stay afloat, and that wasn't getting it for me. So for me, it was like, all right, I need to figure out how I can be making an adult income, and so that I can get to a point where I can become sustainable on my own, put some money away for my children that were, growing up, and just being a man, just standing up, being a man. So created this plan to overcome some of those barriers, and just so happened, I came across a few books in the library, and while I was locked up, and all the books that I read on success, these were all self-help books, The Millionaire Mind, The Millionaire Next Door, The 7 Steps of the Highly Effective People, just all the books that people typically read when they're trying to get themselves together. And there was a common theme as to how they became successful and what those steps were. And so it kind of gave me a guideline as to what I needed to do. So,
and you said you were locked up. How long were you locked up?
Listen, it was crazy because for all of the times that I had been locked up before, off and on, she locked me up. She sentenced me to 90 days. But because of my record and because it was a low level misdemeanor, they sent me to trustee camp. In that trustee camp, basically what they do is they give you time off if you do work for the county. So it was like 77 days.
Okay.
But this was like my hardest time being locked up. For all the other times I had been locked up, it was just, this was the worst for me because I had so much other stuff going on that was positive, and trying to get on track, and she just cut all of that. And so in the process, all these books kept talking about education and creating business and just trying to figure out a way to have a certain amount of income in order to start financing your dreams so that you could get on your feet. So I had to start looking at ways to make the kind of money that I needed to make to fund my dreams. And so for me, the skilled trades was it. That was the easiest one that I could figure out that was felony friendly.
Okay.
And
let me ask you, you said you read all of these books in this reading and the 77 days and in the kind of boot camp situation you were in. What lesson would you say stands out to you from those books or from that time that you remember today?
The one lesson that stood out to me was figure out what the problem is and then figure out a solution to those problems. That's the biggest thing that stuck with me. And, we saw each other a few months back during the pandemic when you released your book. And we had exchanged books, and that's part of where my book came from. It was all part of these steps that I had been reading. I was like, okay, well, let me incorporate some of these steps into my life, and then, okay, well, let me figure out a path and a lifestyle that I need to live in order to move forward versus continue to fall back. And so I just came up with a set of life principles and a plan and said, hey, I'm going to create the plan and I'm going to stick to this plan. And, as long as I stick to this plan, I should be okay by the time I reach the milestones during this plan. So that's basically what I did. So, but the biggest part of that was getting started in the earning process, because when you ain't got no money coming in, things get real tight, and that's what ends up pulling people back over the edge. So I was like, okay, well, let me figure out how to get into the skilled trades. And so when I got out in 2008, my first steps were to work on getting my education together so that I could qualify to get into somebody's apprenticeship program. So all I knew about was going to college and getting into the skilled trades programs. So that's what I did. I ended up going to Henry Ford Community College and trying to get into their program.
Okay. We're talking to TaMuk Scruggs and getting some gratefulness lessons from him as we're on our road to grateful. Some lessons from him on his journey through apprenticeship and his journey to Africa. I'm going to play a clip. I hope we're able to play this clip of you talking to Brenda Jones, who's the outgoing council president for the city of Detroit, who heads the Skilled Trades Task Force. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about that. So click share whether you're watching us on Facebook Live, straight from the Love and Stuff community page, Marcus R. Holmes page, live on LinkedIn Live, Twitch TV, or YouTube events. Click share, tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, followers, or connections, 5 of your more popular ones to join us. We're talking to TaMuk Scruggs, and we're going to go to a video of his thank you of sorts to Council President Brenda Jones. Okay, we're going to double back to that. There's no business like video cast business. But in this clip, TaMuk thanks Brenda Jones and gives her an autographed copy of his book, which we're going to talk a little bit about, maybe some gratefulness lessons from that. You mentioned in that clip that I hope that I will be able to play, but you mentioned in that clip that there were times in this apprenticeship that you didn't know how you were getting to the apprenticeship. You didn't know how you were getting back home. Talk to us first. How did you find out about the apprenticeship and get into it? And then talk to us about some of the lessons and things that you learned going through that journey.
So before I ended up getting locked up, in 2005, I had heard about the Skilled Trades Task Force meeting. Just so happened, Brenda Jones, Council President Brenda Jones, was chairing this particular program, and they were having this meeting down at the Coleman A. Young building every month. And so I had just been reading through the newspapers and stuff like that and saw it and was like, okay, well, let me go down here and check it out. And so I went down there, went to the meeting, and listened to what they had going on, and it was like, okay, yeah, this is what I need to do. Now, just so happened, Brenda Jones happened to be my union rep when I worked at the phone company in 2004. So we had some dealings with each other already. So she was like, well, we had talked one day after one of the meetings, and I was telling her, like, you know, I'm trying to change my existence, and you know, I appreciate you chairing this meeting because a lot of people don't have information on accessing this. And so I just kept coming to the meetings. So over time, we talked about, okay, well, as a felon, you don't have access to a lot of resources. And you don't have vehicles to get to work. The buses don't run out there. No license, you know, just a bunch of things that a lot of people in the city go through. And one of the things that she mentioned was, you know, just keep showing up. And eventually, if you show up, then the opportunities will come to meet you. And that's one of my big things that I always talk about and talk to people about now is being prepared for your next great moment, because that next moment could be the thing that changes your life. But you can't meet that moment if you're not prepared for it already. So you have to prepare yourself like your next situation is going to be your best situation. So, you know, that's one of the things that I got from the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
than going to the meetings actually.
Mm-hmm. And so what year was that? I'm sorry.
So that started in 2005. And then when I got locked up in 2007, I was like, you know what? I need to get out and get back to going to these meetings. And eventually I went and tested for the skilled trades program. And actually before I even got into Henry Ford, I tested for the skilled trades program, but my math scores weren't high enough to make the top ranking. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the reasons why I ended up going to Henry Ford, because I was like, okay, well, let me go here. Came back a few years later, once I finished Henry Ford, and took the test again. Scores had improved tremendously. Tested in the top 40, so got a chance to interview and to get accepted, and then had to wait. I had to wait a year and a half to actually get started. So just trying to survive until then. So after a year and a half working jobs, making less than $8 an hour, making $9 an hour, I was like, I couldn't afford to stay and wait any longer. So I ended up moving to Texas and doing some skilled trades work, but doing non-union. And I swore, I was like, you know what? I'm done with Detroit. It's done broke my heart. Between the Lions and waiting around it, and just everything that was happening in the community, I was just tired. So I was like, you know what? I'm never coming back to Detroit unless except for the skilled trades program, apprenticeship program. Mm-hmm. So left and went to Texas, was down there working. And just as that job started to lay off and slow down, they called me from Michigan, like, hey, I'm interested in joining this apprenticeship program. So I had a few weeks to make up my mind on whether I wanted to come back to Detroit or not. And ultimately, I ended up having to take the last bit of my money before, while being laid off and coming back. Mm-hmm. And after a year and a half, my pay went from, so before I left to go to Texas, I was making $10.50. Left, moved to Texas, was making $22. And then when I came back to start the apprenticeship program, did the interview, killed it. Suit, tie, everything, looked great. Everything they wanted to hear, perfect. And then they told me how much I was going to be making to start. And I almost didn't go because they were like, we understand you've been to college. We know you completed a program over there. But yeah, we can only start you out at $10.66 an hour. But if you complete this program, you do this 5 years, by the time you get done, you'll be making over $30 an hour. And so it was really something hard for me to have to make a decision on, because as a 42-year-old man about to turn 43 and making less than $11 an hour, it was really a hard choice to make. But I looked at the long term of it and said, you know what, this is going to help me free up some issues. This is going to help me overcome pretty much all of my barriers that I was dealing with. So I went ahead and accepted the invitation to come and started the apprenticeship program.
Yeah. And what would you say to individuals who, because I think you're telling me it was over a year and a half or longer from the time you applied to the time that you actually started?
Correct.
And so what would you say to individuals who are saying, I don't know if I could wait that long to get into an apprenticeship? What would you say is the lesson that you learned in waiting?
Well, so the lesson that I learned in waiting is what I tell people about when I go out and I speak to individuals about getting into the skilled trades program. Because I go out and I speak to people about job skills and success skills and career changes all the time. And what I tell them, like, listen, if what you really want to do is to change your legacy, then patience is part of that. I said, because too many people, and I was one of them, too many of us out here chase money. But chasing money will oftentimes take you off track of where you really need to be to get to where you really want to be and go. Mm-hmm. So it was a hard thing for me to do, to wait that period of time, but I kept my eye on the end goal, and that was to finish this program so that I could be and do the things that I want to do. And so I tell folks, it's gonna be hard, and it ain't gonna be easy, but it's gonna be worth it. And that's one of the things that I put in my book, because that was what an old head told me. He's like, listen, man, you can either keep running around here in the streets, or you can stay focused and bide your time and prepare yourself so that when it does happen, you're ready, and then just let that be what propels you to greatness. And he's like, I'm gonna be honest, it's not gonna be easy, but it's gonna be worth it. And that's been that always stuck with me. It's just the perseverance of surviving until you get the opportunity to live. And so that's what I tell folks. Focus, survive, do what you gotta do, but keep an eye on the end game. And that's getting into the program. So
okay. We're talking to TaMuk Scruggs, and we're gonna try to go to this video clip one more time. And when we come back, TaMuk, I want to talk to you a little bit about during those 5 years, what were some of the hardships and challenges that you endured, that you're now looking back and grateful that you stuck in there. Click share and join us talking to TaMuk Scruggs, who's a valued member of our Love and Stuff community. And you can join our Love and Stuff community by going to the page, following under the group section. There is an inside of Love and Stuff group that you want to click on and join that group today. So we'll be right back after this clip talking with TaMuk Scruggs. I know who you are.
Good evening, Miss Brenda Jones. How you doing?
I am blessed by the best.
Yes, we are.
And we'll be even more blessed December 31st. Go ahead.
All right. Well, my story started with you a little bit a long time ago, back when I was working for the phone company, and you were my union representative, and ended up leaving that job. Thank you for not getting that job back for me. I appreciate it. I say that because in 2005, because I had lost that job, I started looking for, I really got focused on trying to get into the skilled trades. I knew that was the pathway to success. Just so happened, you had transitioned into the position of skilled trades council person and was running the task force. So I had started coming to the meetings when it was down at the Coleman A. Young building. So I've been coming since 2005. It took until 2013 for me to even pass the test. And once I passed the test, it took a year and a half for me to even get into the trade. So 2014, I started my apprenticeship with Local 80 Sheet Metal Heating and Cooling program. I've now gone on and completed that program, but I've been at these meetings every year, almost every month, trying to get into these programs. And over the time, I had a chance, I talked with Beulah, Percy, I spoke with Aaron. Aaron got me over to Access. I went and spoke with them. Dino and everybody, we've all been connected. And I continue to come to these meetings because I share my story, because I was a citizen that has felonies. And there were very few options other than the trades. So fast forward to today, I've completed my apprenticeship, my 5-year apprenticeship. Thank you. I did every one of those 5 years, every day of that 5-year program, and it was difficult, to say the least, to the point where there were times when I didn't know how I was going to get there, how I was going to get home, how I was going to get to the jobs, or whatsoever. But we come to the meetings and we continue to talk about perseverance and getting what you want. And you providing those opportunities to get the information out here is what has allowed me to step into the position where I now help other people try to get into these trades, and from everyone to Prudence and Musk to John's program to IBEW. I'm the only 10 knocker up on the wall over there. And it's crazy because we were just looking at it, and every one of those people are journeymen now. We all were apprentices on that picture. So just about everybody on there that was an apprentice is now a journeyman and doing well. I just recently came back from Africa. And I mention that because prior to me getting into the trade, I would have never been able to afford that. Not only that, I never even thought that it was something that I could possibly do, just coming from the neighborhood, having felonies, and just being in the environment. But not only did I go to Africa, I told my father 2 years before now, I said, you know what, I'm turning 50, you're turning 75, I want to take you to Africa for our milestone birthday, and it won't cost you a dime. And I did that. I did that because I was able to afford the trip because I'm in the skilled trades.
That's right.
2018, I wrote and released my book. It's called Okay, You've Effed Up, Now What? And it's called The Crossroads Moments, A Pathway to Success. Because when we come to these meetings, we talk about this is a pathway to success, even if you have felonies or have made mistakes in your life. So with that, I wanted to make sure that before you left and transitioned on to your next space, I wanted to make sure that I got you your own autographed copy of my book. So I appreciate it.
I think
That was TaMuk Scruggs. I think I still got the back one.
said I wasn't going to be emotional, but I had to see
No,
pass as a union.
that's TaMuk Scruggs, who was live with City Detroit Council President Brenda Jones at her final Skilled Trades Task Force as she rounds out her service as president and city council member here in the city of Detroit. And so click share and tag someone to join us. We're talking about gratefulness lessons from TaMuk's journey. And I want to talk to you a little bit about, you described them as very difficult, the 5 years going every day. Tell us a little bit about the apprenticeship journey for people that may not know about apprenticeship journey. What was it like getting into that apprenticeship? Once you were in, what's the typical day like, and what are some of the lessons that you learned about yourself in the apprenticeship?
Oh man, it's I had no idea what the heck I was getting myself into. I didn't, because growing up, you always hear about people doing building and doing construction, but we only really talk about electricians or carpenters or somebody doing construction on the road work. We don't talk about any of the other trades. I didn't know anything about a drywall apprenticeship or plumbers. We hear about plumbers, but never anything about skilled trades. And nobody knew what the heck somebody in sheet metal and heating and cooling does. Nobody. I was with somebody for almost 2 years, and the first day we got together, they were like, "What do you do?" And the last day, they still didn't know. It's kind of funny because nobody knows these are less glamorous careers, but they're high-paying, high-wage earning careers. So for me, when I got in, I thought that I had a taste of it when I was at Henry Ford Community College. But when I got into the actual program, it was so much more, man. It was like, wow, this is going to be a lot to learn, but I'm up for the challenge. And I just took it as, this is something that I really want to learn how to do because I know the freedom that it was going to allow me to be able to have. So what we actually do is we create, form, install, remove all the metal in commercial and industrial buildings. So, for example, if you go into like, what's your favorite restaurant?
Oh, I don't know if I want to advertise today.
But in that building,
Applebee's. I'm making it up.
You know what? No, we'll talk about Narrow Way.
Narrow Way.
Narrow Way. We'll because I know you're a favorite over there.
That's correct.
I know you. So all of the metal that's in their kitchen and all of their duct work, all of their air conditioning, all their heating and everything in there. We actually build that and we install it. So we provide all the heating and cooling in your buildings, in hospitals, recreation centers. I worked on Little Caesars Arena, Children's Hospital, a bunch of banks, hospitals, everything. So anything that has metal in it, we help actually build and put in. But being a Black man in the skilled trades is something that is really weird, because it's not like most typical jobs. So like you could work at Chrysler or Ford or GM, you go there, you're gonna see Black people. In the skilled trades, it's not like that. It's like, so our local has 1,300 members. If we have 100 Black men in our trade, I would be shocked. I'm still trying to get the number. Right now, I think we're at about 35, 36.
Wow.
You know, and there are no women. Well, there are no Black women.
Wow.
There are women in our trade, but there are no Black women in our trade.
And your trade is what? Is it sheet metal? Is it HVAC? What's your trade?
Well, we do both. So we can build it. We can build all the metal, but the majority of the work that we do is we install heating and cooling systems.
Gotcha.
So we do rooftop units and all of the duct work that comes inside the building, and all the fans and everything like that.
Gotcha.
So it was just
35 African Americans out of 1,300.
Out of, like I said, if it's 100 of us, and that's including apprentices and journeymen, I would be surprised.
Wow.
And so I've been working on those numbers ever since I first passed the test. Like, hey, you know, everybody that I can tell about it, I try to tell them to come and get in. So one of the things that I found out once I got in was just how much other communities know about what we do. And I would meet whole families in the trade. You know, there's a family in our trade that the grandfather was in it. So our trade is like 100 years old. So their grandfather was in it. The father was in it. All the uncles are in it. The mom is in it. The sons are in it. Her niece is in it, and their cousin. They're all in the trade. And I was just like, okay, they tell their families, you know, about this, and they don't even, when they turn 18, they like, hey, you going over here to this school and you take this test. Now, you're gonna take this test, and if you don't like it, then okay, you know, but you're gonna start it and get in it. And then if you don't like it, then that's on you. But I'm not doing nothing else for you. But if you want to, you know, this is what they do. We don't even know about it, because nobody could tell me what sheet metal was, and nobody even knew what it was. So even when I talk to people now, it's like, hey, you know, this is what it is. This is what we do. You know, come on, take this test. Come on, get in. So I've gotten a few people to come out and test. We have a couple of apprentices that are in from the city, because that's where I try to recruit from. Say, hey, people that come from situations like I was in, individuals who are single fathers or have children on the way, or just have barriers in their life, but you know, just haven't been able to catch a break on changing their legacy. You know, I try to pass the information on, tell them what to do, when to test, what they're gonna need to get in. You know, all the requirements and stuff like that, and making sure that they understand what it does and what it takes to be in this program. So,
yeah, you mentioned TaMuk that there aren't that many African Americans. So, what is it like being the only African American? Is that pressure to you? Is it different to you? What was that like being in that experience with very few African Americans, if any? Does that mean you were the only one on the job site and you felt like there was a different expectation for you, or how was that?
Oh man, it's a really awkward situation, because when you're the only Black man in the trade or from that particular trade on the job, you know, that's one thing. But when you're the only black man from like all the trades on the job, then it's just magnified. So it's like, so you have all of these other cultures and races working on the jobs, and they're all cool, and they've been in it, so they you know they have built up a camaraderie, and then you're the new guy, and you're different from everybody else. So for me, it's like, all right, well, they trying to, all eyes are on me. So I'm not a short guy, I'm not a small guy. So I already kind of intimidate people, just my presence. And I carry myself like a man. So, you know, that causes problems. Also, when you come into an environment where people are used to using their position as a means to bully other people. And so it makes it really awkward because they try to talk to you any old kind of way. They try to mess with you all kinds of ways. It's a lot of hazing that goes on in the skilled trades. But for me, it was like, all right, I'm an apprentice. I'm brand new, but I ain't young. So y'all not gonna act any old kind of way, and y'all ain't gonna talk to me any old kind of way. Y'all not gonna mistreat me any kind of way. So I'll punch your lights out. And so, you know, I've had situations. I'm still from the hood. So, but I always understood that I have to represent in a manner that doesn't burn bridges for others that are coming after me. Mm-hmm. So I have to stand up and be strong, but I also have to build bridges so that people coming after me can cross this pathway too.
Yeah,
so,
I love it. I was going to ask it that way, but I knew you would answer it that way because I wondered, were you mindful of, by me being the only one in this environment, what is it going to be like for the next guy? Because I'm really setting a pace for the next guy that will come in. So,
yeah,
and I think really, that's an important gratefulness lesson, I think, in and of itself. Do you agree?
I do, because, and that was one of the things that I talk about with some of the other Black journeymen in there who have been there for years, because we have some journeymen that are actually getting ready to retire. And that kind of blew my mind. Like, how y'all get in this 20 years ago, 30 years ago? And where was I at where, y'all wasn't when y'all was passing out the information, because I didn't know. So they always talk about that, and we talk about that, and just continue to stand on their shoulders. And because they tell me all the time, like, hey man, you the future. You the future. And so anytime we have new guys that come in, especially from the city, now that's always what I'm talking to them about. Hey man, look, you are going to be looked at and treated differently. You can't show up if the job starts at 7, you can't show up at 7. You got to be there at 6:30, 6:45. You can't leave early. They can leave early. They can do what they want to do. You can't. You got to be there till ain't nobody left. You got to be closing the game box up. You got to go above and beyond what everybody else does. You have to be exceptional and extraordinary. You can't just be ordinary like everybody else, because they're looking at you and expecting you to be that. So I always try to make sure that I represent that. Like, hey, listen, I might not be the greatest, but I'm definitely not going to be the worst, and I'm going to set the tone for what you all will not only expect, but also will respect from the next people coming.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to still be here.
Yeah. I think that's a powerful lesson. I think a blessing is rarely just for us. We've got to be mindful that we could squander it for somebody else. It's really a part for us, but a part for others that are going to come behind us. And
when you really accept the blessing for what it actually is, then you understand the responsibility of not squandering that and making sure that somebody else can also benefit from this blessing as well, so that we can continue to pass that on. So, I'm always mindful of that.
Yeah. We're talking to TaMuk Scruggs, and we're talking about lessons of gratefulness as we're on our road to grateful in this month of Thanksgiving, from his journey as an apprentice and his journey to Africa, which I'm getting ready to pivot. It's 9:15 to talk to him a little bit about Africa. I do want, before we go there, for you to tell me what was the hardest thing or best lesson you learned from the apprenticeship. And again, congratulations on being a journey person. I didn't know about sheet metal until I had to go back and refresh my mind on it too. Latrice Anderson has joined us, Joy Pascal, Corey Mildred King. I hope all of you that are joining across platforms will click share. We're talking to TaMuk Scruggs. As you're on your road to grateful, are you looking at your pathway to success and where it's taken you and where it's brought you from? TaMuk Scruggs is sharing from his pathway to success as an author, as a journey person, and as a, I guess I'm going to say, as a traveler to all things our motherland. And so I want to hear from you before I transition to that. What's the toughest lesson or the best lesson that you learned coming out of that apprenticeship that you can share, that you're most grateful for?
Oh man, the biggest lesson, and one of the things that I'm most grateful for, is God instilling humbleness as well as perseverance in me, because those two things are the only things that's going to get you through. If as a Black in the skilled trades, if you don't have the fortitude to persevere and you don't have the humbleness to bite your tongue when you need to, it's all about picking the battles. Because if you don't pick the right battles to fight by staying humble, then you're going to lose this. You're going to lose this whole war. And my patience is, like I said, I'm from the hood, so having the mindset of having to be Johnny on the spot all the time and prepare for anything, and be preparing to have to react and act certain ways in order to survive, man, it's a whole different beast when you get in an environment where your whole future is dependent on how you move. So just staying humble and staying disciplined to persevere in spite of the obstacles is one of the greatest gifts and blessings that this career has given me. So, I try to pass that on. So that's man, it really humbles you when you're trying to be successful and help other people, man. So those are the two biggest blessings that I've gotten from this trade.
Okay. I'm going to go to some pictures that I clipped, and I'm going to bring them up, and then I want you to describe some of these pictures that are from your journey in Africa. I opened with the clip with you and the lion, so I didn't take the still photo of that, but that was my favorite clip. You and the lion meeting each other. But here's one picture that I'm bringing up.
Yeah, man, I like that one.
I do too. Tell me about it. You're in Africa. You mentioned in your clip that you decided, that skilled trades had afforded you the opportunity to celebrate a milestone birthday, 50, and your dad's 75th, which I think is amazing that you took your dad to Africa. And so you go to Africa, and this picture is what? What are you doing here, and what does this represent to you?
So the reason why I love this picture is because I'm working on a major project here for individuals here in the city and on an ATV complex. And so riding an ATV, learning how to ride it, is part of that program, which is all based on leadership and life skills. So we try to, the goal is to work on teaching life skills through having fun. So going to Africa and being able to ride the four-wheelers, man, it was an awesome and amazing thing to do, because we got a chance to ride down the Atlantic Ocean. And, you just ride down the beach. It was a beautiful day. The sun was out. It was nice and warm. It was amazing. And so my father had never been on a four-wheeler. So all this time he's been alive, he's never been on a four-wheeler. So he had an opportunity to actually ride a four-wheeler for the first time, and he loved it. We rode down the beach, we rode around some curves. He was handling it, so that was really big for me. So that picture was one of the stills that we took, just with the ocean behind me, and just happy to be there. And so my shirt happens to say, it says, "I'm a king and your approval isn't needed." And how I try to carry myself, all of that just came together in one picture, man. So that's like one of my favorite pictures. So I've tried to share that picture with people so they can see how I felt about it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one great picture.
I'm going to the next picture. Okay, very good.
Oh man, that picture there, man. So the video, this is one of the clips from the video that I took. So me being a Leo, my birthday is in July. I'm a Lion. I'm a Leo. We're from Detroit, the Detroit Lions. I'm like, man, you go to Africa, you gotta go see the Lions, man. You gotta go. So originally, you were supposed the itinerary was to go and walk with the Lions. Like you actually get to walk and pet them and everything. There's a handler have them on what is like a leash, and you could get to walk with them. But because of Corona, they weren't allowing that. So we got to actually ride in the truck on their reserve. And man, this was one of the smaller lions that was out there. Wow. And so he jumped up on the top of the cage of the truck, and he got the growling and stuff. And then I went to pet him, and he went to jumping at me, and I was like, hold on, cuz. I had to catch myself, like, hold on. You ain't about to be punking me on in Africa, cuz. So I had to put my Detroit hat on, had to have a, stare down with him, and, he calmed down. But it was a whole moment, man. It was an amazing moment. And, there's few things that people will get to do in this world, man, like this. But I try to, in speaking with people about that experience, tell them, this is something that you got to go do. We go to a whole lot of other places, but to go there and to be able to see a live lion in person, a free lion, touch it and live.
Yeah.
That was just amazing. My father, this was something that was amazing for him. So my father actually went and instead of him just touching, he wanted to poke the lion. I was like, man, what are you doing, man? You don't come to Africa to poke a lion.
Yeah.
But he enjoyed it, man. So that was great for him, man. That was one of my favorite pictures too.
Okay. Here's another one. Tell me. I hit the same one. No, I didn't. Tell me about this picture.
So this picture was either I took a couple like this. So I took one when we were on the four-wheeler, and I took one when we were riding the camels. Because my father never rode a camel before, or never ridden a camel. So we got up to there's a pathway that leads from the hotel we were staying at to the ocean front. But when you get to the top of this hill, you get to look out over this village, and this is the shot that I took overlooking this village. And I took it because in the background, what you can see are a bunch of structures. Now, over there, you can buy the land, and it's yours. You don't pay. You can't lose it to property taxes or anything like that, like we have here. And so each generation, unless somebody in your family sells it, the land is yours, so you can do what you want to. So what people were doing was buying the land, and one generation would start building the home, and then the next generation, as they got old enough to start adding on to it, they would add on to it. And then so you can continue to do that as long as it takes, but it's yours. And just seeing that, man, just was amazing to me. And so I said I wanted to make sure I got a good picture of that. And it was, like I said, it was a beautiful day. The clouds wasn't out there, man. It was amazing.
Yeah. All right. This picture here.
So this is on Gorée Island. This is on the Isle of in Senegal, and this is called the Door of No Return. So for those that don't know, the Door of No Return is the last door that slaves in Africa saw before they were shipped out to wherever they were sent. And this was one of the first places that my father and I went and visited. And my father is and was a Black activist back in the day, so this is all part of why I wanted to bring him on this trip. And so wanted to make sure that he got to come and see these slave houses and where the slaves actually were stored and shipped from. And this is the actual, they made this slave house a museum. And so this is the view that when they brought you in, that you would see. You walk right in through this front gate, and that door, that opening in the background, is the door that slaves were shipped out of, never to be seen again, man. And it was a very spiritual moment being there. My father was very overcome with the energies and things. He almost collapsed. I had to catch him, but wow. it was very powerful, man. And
yeah, I want to go to a clip of him describing it. I'm going to play that right now. There's a clip that I found that of him describing it. This is TaMuk's 75-year-old father describing the door of no return.
All right, so tell me how you feel about day one and door of no return.
It's hard to explain because historically there was so much devastation and destruction of human beings, cultures, and tribes that took place. It's hard to imagine, and then to see the results today and try to explain away why our attitudes are what they are towards ourselves and our families, towards schools and religion, towards business. I don't think I really had any idea or sense of appreciation for family and our community before coming here. I smiled when our plane touched down, and I was glad to be here in the land of our ancestors. But touching the walls of the rooms where men and women and children were placed, where the capacity exceeded the ability of the room to accommodate them. And I just hope and pray that all those people who seem to think that there's something beneficial to using the N-word in describing ourselves or addressing other people of color will come to understand that ship has already sailed. There's no reason, no how you can justify its use. When you think about the number of people that left these shores and went through that building You don't really understand.
I was indeed moved when I saw that. I mean,
Yeah,
what did it?
it's still it do something to me now just watching it too, man. I really so even recording those, it was hard to record those, and the only time I watched those since then is just when I posted those videos on my page for individuals who had a lot of questions about how he felt about it, and it I had struggled with posting them, but he said that it would be okay to share because he was like, you know, it was such an amazing trip that he wanted to share it with other people, so he gave me his blessing to share it. And man, just watching it now, man, it still does something to me because of how much he was affected, and then just knowing the effects of such atrocities back then and how it all plays out now, man, it's still something that's moving, man.
Yeah. What did it mean to you to be able to take your dad to Africa?
Oh, it was. It's kind of hard to describe, man, because I wasn't the greatest son. You know, I when my father and my mother separated, I ended up getting into a lot of trouble. My father he wasn't in our household, but he would be around, but I didn't listen because I was in survival mode, trying to help make sure that I kept moving our family ahead. And so a few years ago, when my mother turned 75, we did a surprise. Well, we did a birthday party for her. Did a big birthday party for her, a surprise party. And you know, we just talked about. You know, we always do things for mothers. Dads, when they do get something, is nowhere near on the scale that we do for mothers. And so, knowing that we had a milestone coming up to celebrate, it really was a blessing for me because I never thought I was going to live past 21 to make it to 50. Man, this was mind blowing in itself. And then just talking with him and realizing that, oh man, you're gonna turn 75 the same year, you know, 2 months later. So it's like, I want to do something for you. So I said, you know, this is what we'll do. I'll take you. I told him ahead of time because I knew my finances were going to continue to grow from being in the trades. I said, you know, I said, what you want to do? He didn't know. He really didn't care. He was just like, you know, we'll do something. I said, no, we got to do something big because we both gonna celebrate. I said, I'm gonna take you to Africa. And he said, oh, okay. He was real nonchalant about it. He was, okay. And I'm like, no, for real. This is what we're gonna do. So just over time, people just kept asking me about, you know, are you really taking your dad? And, you know, you going with some female? And, no, I'm taking my father. This is what we're gonna do. And he kind of questioned it too. And even while we were on the trip, we were sitting there on like our 5th, 6th day, and I was interviewing him, and he was like, you know, I just really want to say I appreciate this moment in being here because even though you said that you were going to do it, you know, people say things all the time, and whatever happens, and it doesn't always happen. He said, but you actually did this, and I'm actually sitting here in Africa right now in the motherland with my son that brought me. And you know, he was like, I really appreciate it. He cried every day we were there. So, you know, that was very sincere for me. And, you know, that's touching for me to be able to humbly do that. And so that's one of the reasons why I shared that at the meeting was because we do a lot of things with our money. But for me, the money is about creating the experiences that create the memories for everybody that I ain't trying to inspire people, but if it does, then cool. But I wanted to create something that between my father, before my father passes on, or before something happens where I pass on, that he knows that I did something out of love for him because he loved me. Because without my father, I wouldn't be here. Without my mother, I wouldn't be here. So I had to honor those things. So no matter what happened, I wanted to make sure that I showed that love and that respect for him. So because of what he put into me, gave me an African name. Yeah, I gave you a strong, I want to give you something to live up to. I didn't like my name. And as I grew older and grew up and really stepped into what he was trying to do, I had to step into that greatness of what he was trying to do. So, it was a great thing for me, being able to do it.
Yeah. And I bet, even though you say you're not trying to inspire people, I don't know if you would admit to it if you were. TaMuk, but I think that is inspiring that you thought about taking your dad. Now, I will imagine it bolsters you to believe that there probably isn't anything that you can do.
Right.
Yeah.
And man, like I said, it was an amazing trip. It was, every day was beautiful here. Even on the first day we got there, so we flew from here to Paris. We were in Paris for 8 hours, and it was raining there, and so we left from Paris, went to Senegal, and it was raining there. It had flooded bad. It had flooded bad there, like it had here. But just being there, he was just like, I'm here. Like, and all the troubles that we had getting there, man, that made it even that much greater. Just the hassles that we had to go through to get there. We almost couldn't get on the plane in Paris. And so we, they want to let us on the plane. The plane almost left us. It was just crazy, man. So it just made it that more memorable. And then just even leaving, it was like they told me that there was only one ticket to return home. And so I was like, okay, go ahead. I'm sending my father. They were like, no, he can't go. You can go. He can't go. So we almost had to leave him.
Wow.
And so it worked out, but everything and how it all happened, man, just really made this trip so memorable. To the point to where, he met a young lady over there, and they hit it off. Some kind of way, she ended up asking him to marry her, and he said yes, some kind of way. I don't know, but it's crazy. So my father sent me a text message email this morning about 2:00 in the morning. He's already scheduled his flight to go back in December.
Wow.
That's how much he loved it. So I'm good.
Wow.
If I don't do nothing else in this life, I'm good.
Yeah.
I did something, for him. So
yeah. I got 2 more pictures I'm gonna bring up. Here's one of them. Yep. So that's him on the camel.
Him on the camel. Never been on the camel a day in his life.
And so what was his experience with that? How did he react to being on the camel?
Oh, he was shook up. He was like, oh man, I've never done this before, but forget it. I'm here in Africa. I'm going to take all of this in. He almost fell off twice. So it was really amazing for him. So, but he really enjoyed it. He was like, man, I've never been to Africa. I'm here. I never touched the land. I did. He said he'd never seen one, never touched one. He'd done that. He said he'd never been on a 4-wheeler. Did that. Never been on a camel. Did that. So everything was just a first for him doing this at 75 years old. There's people that haven't even made it to 75. There's some people that won't never make it to 75. There's some people that's 100 years old, ain't never done any of this. So for him, he was like, man, he's like, I really appreciate this. It's because, there are people who will never do this. Yeah. And he got to experience that. And he got to, he said he got to experience it with his son and didn't pay a dime.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's another gratefulness lesson, right? No matter what age you are, you can experience new things. Life isn't
right.
over until it is over. And even in this time, you can experience, love or excitement or, if he's 75 and he done met somebody overseas, there's hope for those of us that are 50, right? So Gratefulness says keep living, because you never know what surprises and good things are coming your way. So
what's next? That's right.
That's what I was thinking of that. Now, this last picture is not from the trip, but I want you to tell me now, who is this?
That is my 7th grandchild. That is Serenity Heaven.
And let me ask you this. As Serenity grows up, and I know you have a ton of grandchildren, so I didn't choose your favorite. So tell your grandchildren I didn't choose your favorite. I chose this. This had nothing to do with you. But I want to know, what will you tell Serenity about what your name means and what lessons that you want her to learn in life about gratefulness? You've experienced Africa, you've experienced apprenticeship, you've experienced hard times and felonies and boot camps. What will you tell Serenity? What does TaMuk mean? And what will you tell her about what you hope that she learns as gratefulness lessons?
Well, the gratefulness lessons that I know she's going to learn, because between myself and her mom, just that she can accomplish anything that she sets her mind to. And that even in doing so, will always be mindful that there are other people who are less fortunate than you. So it is not only is our responsibility to step into our own greatness, but to also help to usher others into theirs as well. But those that want to, and because even there are some people that don't want to. So we're going to invest our time in those that do, and we're also going to leave some space for those that don't know that they want to, but still need to. But for me, teaching her about my name, what it means, what it represents, and how I came about it, and what I tried to do out of respect of that. Those are going to be things that I will impart upon them. So even when I'm gone, that these lessons, they will continue to have these lessons available to them through the things that I do now before my time is up here on this plane. So, writing the book, it was a letter. It's basically a love letter to them and to their children and their grandchildren. And it's a whole thing of creating a legacy and a positive legacy. So, and being able to fund some things to make sure that they can continue to live in their greatness without having to do so much struggling. Everybody's gonna struggle, but we gotta be able to remove some of those barriers in the process.
Yeah, and for the viewers, tell them, what does your name mean, and what does it mean to you?
So, TaMuk Akira Scruggs, it means firstborn son of the royal family, which would make I am my father's firstborn son. That would make him the king, and that would make me the prince. And that's how it translates to in Swahili. So TaMuk is Swahili, Akira is Japanese, and that's the royal family. We don't care about where Scruggs came from, but that's a whole nother story. But for me, that's what I ran from for the first part of my life for a very long time. But now every day I try to make sure that I walk in that. And so when I take my last and final step, I will have done everything that I can do to uphold that message and to pass that message on to my grandkids and my great grandkids and things that I leave behind for them to understand who I am on that tree. That's what it's about. Are you gonna be the nut on the tree, or is you gonna be the weeds around the tree? So I'm trying to make sure that I create something that's going to be forever fruitful. So.
Okay, and so we're in the last 2 months of the year. Some people on this road to grateful are unemployed, unhappy, in between places, experience potential evictions from places that they've been living at, barely holding on to dreams or other things. TaMuk, what would you say to them? What lesson would you say or encouragement would you say to somebody who maybe has experienced the loss of loved ones and family members, and going into this holiday season with maybe not as much hope for their future. Maybe they are in their 40s like you were when you started the apprenticeship, and they don't see that next step, that next career. They haven't found that thing, that purpose. What would you say to him or her?
Well, so this is what I was saying. This is what I said to my daughter. And I mentioned her because the day before I was scheduled to get on the plane to take my father to Africa, I called my daughter from work to see if she could take us to the airport to drop us off. And she told me, Dad, I can't take it. I can't take you to the airport. So I'm asking probing questions. And she basically gets to, well, I'm in the hospital. So my daughter is 30. I try not to overparent. So I ask questions to give her the opportunity to express herself. And turns out she was in the hospital because she had taken a bottle of antidepressant pills and tried to kill herself. And so I'm at work when I find this out. So, I'm trying not to be shook on the phone for her and this and that. So she's a veteran, and she's been overseas to Kandahar in Afghanistan and experienced some things while she was down in Fort Hood in Texas, and just a whole bunch of things, just having PTSD and dealing with depression and everything, dealing with domestic violence from some of her relationships and stuff. So when we talked, one thing that I told her even beforehand and even after that, and even up until recently, I told her, listen, every day is not going to be a win, but you can't quit on days when it's a loss. You got to keep preparing. I said this at the beginning of the screen, is that you have to continue to prepare yourself today for what might be your next great opportunity to ultimately and effectively change your existence. So having been in a position of being depressed and suicidal and homeless and jobless and all of these barriers myself, the thing that kept me going was just knowing that, I can't let life win, because too many people are expecting me to quit on myself, and I can't prove them right. So my message to folks would be, no matter how bad things get, it can always get better. The next moment it could flip, and it can get better. And you just got to keep hoping and living like the next moment is going to get better. And that's exactly what I did. I kept living for the next moment. Like, man, I know this. You're gonna have them swings. They're gonna go up. They're gonna go down. But you got to keep holding on to when it swings back. So that, that's one of the things I talk about in the book, is that you're gonna have highs and lows, but you got to keep preparing for when it swings back your way. It might be the swing back against you right now, but it's definitely going to swing back the other way. And when it does, you got to be prepared for that, because it can change your life.
Yeah. And before I let you go, tell us about your book and where we can get your book.
Okay, so the book is called "Okay, You've Effed Up, Now What? Crossroads Moments, A Pathway to Success." It is a self-help book based on my life principles. There are 10 life principles in it. These are genuine steps that people who have obtained a certain level of success have all mentioned and talked about extensively throughout the world globally. And if you do them, you're guaranteed to be a success. It just is what it is. The book is available on Amazon by searching my name or searching the title. My name is TaMuk Scruggs, and that's TaMukScruggs. You can reach me through the Love and Stuff community. You can reach me at 313-471-8602. I have hard copies, so you can pick up the book. It is available in bulk for programs for at-risk or displaced individuals, youth, returning citizens, single dads. I wrote this book to appeal to everyone from a 14-year-old in transitioning from middle school to high school to a 65-year-old coming home. So it's a very quick read. It's very clear and concise with some real tangible steps that are very simple to do and to ultimately change your life. So, if you want it, I got it. You can get it.
That's right. You should get it. Go out and get TaMuk Scruggs. Say the title again. You've effed up.
Okay, you effed up. Now what? Crossroads Moments, a pathway to success.
All right. Thank you, TaMuk, for joining us tonight. You're a valued member of our Love and Stuff community. I wanted to share from your lessons. I was watching a part again of the Skilled Trades Task Force meeting. And I thought this would be great to share with people on the road to Grateful, because I think sometimes people are measuring the totality of their life for where they are in a moment. Right. And it's really not a fair gauge, because as you just said, it could flip any moment. Right. Your life could literally change and go from, sugar, honey, and ice and tea to sugar, right? It could go from apprenticeship to not knowing how you're getting back and forth and working as one Black person among many other in the majority, to taking your dad to Africa and going back to your roots. I mean, it could literally flip in the moment. And that's what I thought was the genius of your story, in part, because there are many more facets, and we could come back and talk about some of the community work that you do. But that part on the road to Grateful, it's so easy to measure, especially if you're at 50 or above 50 and you haven't done, you're not thinking of, what's the guy who owns Walmart, who became a billionaire when he was in his 50s, or you think of Colonel Sanders being 65. You don't hear those stories all the time. So if you're over 50 and you haven't accomplished, and you're judging yourself by this small place of where you are, not despising the place where you are, but you judge yourself by just this space and time, you might not feel like you're on the road to Grateful. And so I thought this was a fitting example. You said when you were, did I freeze? You were 42 going into an apprenticeship. Some people will say, oh, he's going to be doing this hard labor, and all these young guys, they're going to whip him into shape. And, I've seen you turn over tires and the young guys struggling to turn over tires. I've seen you doing push-ups and the young guys, bated breath. And so I think it just speaks to, it's not over. You're on the road to Grateful. Stay on the road to Grateful. And I think that your story is a fitting example of that. And I wanted to share that with people in this month of November, where sometimes people, TaMuk, will take an inventory of their life and be depressed or sad or in despair or despondent, wanting to give up. But if they just stay on the road to Grateful, it could flip in every moment. And so thank you for your story. I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thank you, man. And I hope folks go out and get your book as well, The Gratefulness Journey, man. It's a great book. I shared it a couple of times with folks. I had to let them. I can't really let them take it with them, because folks won't bring the book back, especially not a good one. So I appreciate your book, and from the people that I've shared it with, they love it. So one of the things we're gonna be doing this year in December is I'll be gifting your book as well to some folks. So
that's so nice.
Oh no, man! Hey, again, it's passing the blessings forward, because a lot of times we don't know a lot. We just don't have information a lot of times. So having some steps to help other people, man, from people that look just like us, coming from the same places we come from, it has a little more weight. So we have to make sure that we do that. So I'll be grabbing a couple of copies from you, sir, and sharing those copies out as gifts for this season, man. I appreciate you as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a great gesture, and I really appreciate it. And there are about 4 or 5 other authors in the Love and Stuff community that I know of, and we've been talking about having an online forum to showcase the book. But now I'm thinking it'd be good to have some book club moments so that people can read through the books, and each of the authors come and discuss the points and principles with people who have purchased the book. So
yeah, man, that'd be great. Put me in. I'm there for it, man.
I'm trying to work out something with Amazon as we speak. I'm really trying to get them involved to help to sponsor it. I really think authors that have short reads like you and I, and authors that haven't been out there, indie authors, we really need a space that should be curated to help propel the message of our book. So I appreciate that gesture. And before I let you go, last year you helped us with the Thanksgiving effort. We're going to do the same thing again for people on Thanksgiving who don't have places to go or people to be with. We're going to have an open room. So I hope that you'll come back and maybe share some of the principles or just share some of the laughter. I'm really big on the having a laughter breakout room because I think people need to understand that laughter is a medicine. It does you good.
Right.
So
I bring the yams.
I knew we couldn't go a night without it. Thank you TaMuk Scruggs for joining us.
No problem, man. Appreciate you.
All right. That is a great guy and a great member of our Love and Stuff community. And what I want you to get, I want you to share this so that many other people see it. But one of the things I really want you to get that TaMuk's message, I think, is telling you, don't give up. Stay on the course. What's happening to you now will get better, and it could flip at any moment. It could flip at the very moment that you're ready to give up. Stay on the road to grateful. It isn't an easy road, as you heard TaMuk say. There are bumps and bruises along the way. There are ups and downs, and there are times when you might feel like you're the only one. But don't give up. Stay on the road to grateful. You're on an awesome journey, and you will never know the great surprises, the great miracles, the great things that will happen for you and to you if you get off the road to grateful. I'm Marcus Holmes, the love activist, and I'm grateful to be coming to you from the Love and Stuff community from which we emanate tonight, the Marcus R. Holmes page, both on Facebook, the LinkedIn Live page, Marcus R. Holmes, Twitch TV and YouTube events, HR Passion Guy. And if you're on any or all of those platforms, I hope right now you will click share and tag 5 of your closest friends, connections, or followers, 5 of the more popular ones to circulate the discussion, and ask them this question. Are you on the road to grateful? Get on the road to grateful. And you're going to be awakened to things that you hadn't even paid attention to. In the eternal words of my mom, Princess Irene, you have the right to grieve over anything that you've lost and anybody for as long as you need to. But you must also reserve the right to be thankful for and take inventory of everything and everybody that you have left. Your journey, my friend, has not ended. Stay on the road to grateful and watch the great things that the great love has planned for you. I hope that you will go to our Love and Stuff page, go under groups, join inside of Love and Stuff to get to know people like TaMuk and others behind the scene. We'd love to get to know you better and join our Love and Stuff community. And so have a grateful evening, morning, or afternoon, depending upon where you are around the world. And thank you again for joining us for yet another episode of Love and Stuff.